Today on The Wire, we hear from a queer rights advocate who was forced to seek refuge in Australia. The government's new immigration laws state that asylum seekers can be denied protection in Australia if they can modify their behaviour to avoid persecution. This might mean taking a new job, living in a different area, or avoiding certain activities or behaviours. The Human Rights Law Centre says queer asylum seekers could find themselves victimised by the new laws and sent back to persecution.
I was presenting the shadow report in the UN about the LGBT women under the Convention of Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. And it just, I think, for that specific period of time, it was too much for someone who had power.
And you didn't feel like you could stay there safely?
There were a lot of things happening that were already unsafe. And if we did stay, I can't say we would be alive today.
Could you tell me a bit about the process that you went through to be acknowledged as a refugee in Australia and the whole journey?
So we never planned this. We came to Australia for 2 weeks holidays with just the 2 suitcases, and we just couldn't go back. And we didn't know anything. We didn't know the whole process, what to do, where to go, where to ask help. We came with the last flight to Sydney, so when we came to Central Station by train, it was already past midnight. So we go out of the train and the platform is absolutely empty, which you can't believe it may happen, in Sydney, with millions of people. And there was one seagull on the platform. And it was it was really interesting that, no people, just one bird there, the seabird, but she's just there in the middle of the city. So it was kind of quiet that probably, you still kind of, you just remember that initial feeling. Interview is the most extreme and hard part of it because you've been asked a lot of sensitive questions. You have to tell everything. You have to tell it sometimes again and again. We had a really bad interpreter. So the person, and this is a problem for everyone because she was literally interpreted wrong. So she could say political party instead of NGO, which is two absolutely different things. But also she didn't feel comfortable saying homosexuality, gay. She would say homosexualism instead, meaning that negative meaning, because in our language that ism, it really means something negative up to the disease, up to deviation. So she would interpret in that way. And I did speak English, so I had to kind of follow what she's interpreting and then correct it all the time, being under the pressure because this is my interview. I'm talking about all this stuff. But I can't imagine if people who come and who don't speak any language, how can they cope with that? You can't then go to your community here for your support because what if somebody knows that, you're lesbian, you're a refugee, and you're going to get, the double level of stigma. So then you have to just, live with in your own place, with all this traumatic experience that first of all, you're a refugee. Plus, you assume you come to the free country, but you can't, seek support from someone who because you're gay. For us, it was really hard to say that you're a refugee because, you feel traumatized. Another way you feel that, you were a really strong person, you did help other people, but then you ended up in this situation that you're not strong anymore. And sometimes for some people, it's really hard to accept that.
Could you tell us what problems LGBTI people face in the Ukraine?
We had a law passed in the first reading in the parliament. It's the same law like in Russia to put gay people into jail for they justify it as a promotion of homosexuality. First, you're going to get a fine if you commit the same offense within a year. You're going to be put into the jail up to 5 years. It's been passed in the first reading. It's still kind of in the parliament, but it's on the way through as it's just, copying from Russia.
She left a country where every gay pride parade is attacked by extremists and ends in serious hospitalizations. This year, a historic cinema that hosted the Queer Film Festival was burned to the ground. Once, when her organisation was training police officers, one officer told her he thought police should shoot gay people and that he intended to do so. Lesbians are often victims of what's called corrective rape. And there is a recent trend of groups luring young gay men and boys into situations where they are beaten and humiliated on video, which is then broadcast online. Despite all this, Christina didn't leave Ukraine by choice. You told me you had bad experiences with the media in Ukraine. Can you tell me a bit about that?
They were saying that they're making first ever really nice positive program. They want to change all the social perceptions about LGBT people, and they're so tolerant and they're absolutely friendly and all these sort of things. It was a high, you come out, in the eyes of the whole country, not your own country, because then this program was on TV in Azerbaijan, in Moldova, in Russia, in Ukraine, like whole USSR. So how it was done, it was one question, but then they cut another answer from another question, which then made the whole story looks really horrible. And we were there as, I don't know, someone who really, promotes homosexuality in a bad way or stuff like that. So it was really horrible program, and there were a lot of other people filmed in there, and they were also told like not kind of truth purpose of the program. So some people they thought they were interviewed on another topic, and then they were just asked one questions about LGBT, and actually that was the whole purpose of the thing.
How do you find policy towards LGBTI asylum seekers in Australia at the moment?
It's hard for people who will arrive by boat because they're going to be placed in PNG as an option, and it's illegal to be gay in PNG. So you cannot be open there because you can't be just, jailed just because you're gay, even after you, got the protections visas. Another thing that really bothers me is that part about change of behavior and change of place where you live. Because if someone will say that you actually can change your behavior, you can stop being LGBTI activist, so just, live a normal life as everyone else. So I guess this is a huge risk that people maybe just, send back home away again. This image is that it's actually that feeling of waiting, because you kind of in the middle of the process, but you don't know what's going to be tomorrow like. You don't know whether you're going to be deported back home to all that people and events, or what's going to happen after. And you just there day by day by yourself with no support, no job, no money, and you just kind of, feel as if you are being, like just torn apart. It's really awkward when you meet someone who is Ukrainian or Russian, because then they ask, or Georgian, like whoever speaks Russian language, and they will ask you, so what's your husband doing? I don't have a husband. I've got a wife, my partner. And they were like, oh, what? And it's like it's this kind of really awkward moment, because they can't really recover, and they just, they don't know then how to talk to you afterwards. Every person has a story behind the person, and sometimes we are not too much sensitive for that. We just, see the image we perceive the person as, through our prism of, I don't know, of our stereotypes or whatever. But we just do not acknowledge that every person has a, the huge story behind. And even if you try to, mop it off yourself, it doesn't really sometimes work that well. There's always hope. There's always, opportunities, and you can start. You can't change what happened. It happened. You just have to live with it. You just accept it and you move on. But then you can, now you can create the life that you want to have in a free country. We show here myself doing a PhD, and Nadine, getting her new career, doing her photography course and working as a photographer. The final one is just like, happy life after. Sometimes you just, you feel like you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's just this kind of emptiness and loneliness, and your trauma with you all the time, and nobody, is talking to you. You can't talk to anyone about that stuff. So probably we just want to say that there is hope all the time. So, it will get better, and, you'll be back to normal, back again.